Your man out of Japan, Jay Contra here, and I am trying to catalog all of my Super Famicom games. Those are Japanese Super Nintendo games. I've got about 30 that are complete in box, maybe 25, and I'm going to show you every single one of them. We're going to unpack these. We're going to look at some beautiful artwork, see some great cartridges, and I hope you'll stick through and see what you can get if you're collecting Japanese video games. Let's start off with Ryden Densetsu. This was I want to say it's a, no, not Toa Plan. It was a Toho game that came out, can we see, 1991. Look at that, 1991. I love that they have screenshots of the game on the back of the box. That's something, we can't take that for granted. If I'm remembering correctly, the original Famicom games that came out in the 1980s did not have screenshots. You were just like buying a game and being like, oh, I hope this is good. I can't believe Toei actually made this. Or were they just publishing it? Was it actually another developer that was making this game? The Ryden series, venerable series, bunch of games that came out for the Sega Genesis as well as the PlayStation. Love the colors of the Super Famicom buttons. Love having the screenshots. Another thing that, again, we cannot take for granted. When you're looking inside, when you're looking inside manuals for games like even Super Mario Brothers, you're not seeing the actual game in there. You're just seeing a bunch of text. Here we've got, this is UN Squadron, I'm pretty sure is what they called it in the United States. This is Capcom's Area 88 that came out, I want to say like originally for the, was that for the arcade in 89? Or maybe that's the, I think this is an anime if I'm remembering correctly. This came out, the game itself came out in 1991. This beautiful hand-drawn artwork. This game is a scrolling shooter that almost has RPG elements. If I'm remembering correctly, you're a fighter, you're like flying a jet, and you go around to different levels, and there are enemies that are moving around, and you've got to stop them before they can get to your base. And you can upgrade your fighter because you get money from the different missions. It's almost like it's like a Japanese manga. And I love how they've got, I think that's supposed to be inherent to the manual itself. You'll notice they've got like weird print on it. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that's part of the manual. It's the strangest manual I've ever seen. Here we've got different characters. Who's this? Shin Kazama, Mickey Simon. Got to read the katakana there. Greg Gates. He's from Denmark. A couple of different characters there. Oh, and there is an advertisement for the first Final Fight. You could buy it for $85. I don't think cartridges even got that expensive in the United States back in the early 90s. But that, think about paying $85 for the original Final Fight. It's good. Don't get me wrong. The original Final Fight is a great game, although now you'll actually spend $100 for Final Fight Tough, the Final Fight 3. Oh, here is my precious Akumajo Dorakura Double X, or what do they call it? Sometimes it's Double Cross, but this is Double X. This is Castlevania Dracula X. You may know it as what I still today think is the hardest Castlevania game to ever come out. It is a real pain to actually sit down and play this game, especially when you get to the level here, because you've got to jump across all of these. If you fall in, you're dead. And then you've got these guys. It uses a bunch of assets from Rondo of Blood. You're playing as Richter, but it is an entirely different game. I want to say both in terms of storytelling and an actual gameplay. I believe like there's, you like climb up stairs differently if I'm remembering this properly. I've only cleared it once. I've played it a bunch, and I really do not have a ton of time to put into this game just because it is so freaking difficult. Look at that art. I love this period of Castlevania art. It's when they kind of evolved from the weird, like, beefy man vision of Castlevania and they finally went full anime, and they did it with such cool dark tones that I still think that the artwork for this hasn't been surpassed, even though it would get more anime. Remember, Castlevania, when you think about it, once it transitioned over to the DS, that's when it went like maximum full-on anime. Whereas when in like the Aria of Sorrow days and what am I thinking? Harmony of Dissonance, you still had some cool cover art for those games. But when you get to like Portrait of Ruin and what else am I thinking of? What was after? Oh, Order of Ecclesia. That's when the artwork, like the sprites, still great work. Although, when I think about it, there's like like if you've played like Symphony of the Night, you've visually seen all that Castlevania has to offer. I do wish there was a little bit more variety. Although Bloodstained, I don't know how I feel about Bloodstained. Let's put this in the back just to be sure. Don't want to expand the box. I remember buying this at Mandarake in Tokyo, and it actually cost a bit of money just because it's somewhat sought after, and I don't know why, because it's really a pain to play, but I guess they didn't make that many of it. I mean, it's a 1995 Super Famicom game. That's when most of these games got super expensive. Live Alive is a lost Square game. This came out, I want to say it was like 96 probably, if I had to guess. I'm trying to look for a copyright date. There are a bunch of games, I know, like the Front Missions, Bahamut Lagoon is another one, where Square was just pumping out RPGs. But when they were releasing them in the mid-1990s, it just didn't financially make sense to localize the games because they were quickly transitioning from the Super Nintendo over to the PlayStation, and a lot of games got lost in the process. There was just such a clean break that Square made between going from Nintendo over to Sony that a bunch of games got lost in the process, at least in like North American terms. Who have we got here? This is Namakato. Namakato? I always confuse the ma and the moos. Jackie Iaukea. Some real weird names here. Moribe Seiji, Turahan, and Gureto Eija. Excuse me. What a weird game. This actually got a little bit expensive. I think it's like 40 or 50 bucks if you are buying this in Japan. I haven't got around to actually playing that. You can notice it's got the browning here. I'm guessing that's from the glue. The glue on a lot of these games is really starting to go bad. And I wonder what this stuff is going to look like in 10 or 20 years. It looks okay now, but I don't think it's going to be terrible. Look, we just got to treat these like the antiques that they are. Moving on, let's go to Street Fighter 2 Turbo. I thought I had the world... Oh yeah, Hyper Fighting. Is this the original? Is this the OG Street Fighter 2 or is this World Champions? We'll see. I guess we'll open it up and we'll find out. I always felt like Street Fighter 2 Turbo was the definitive Street Fighter 2, and I believe that I'm coming to that conclusion because this is the version that got ported over to the Dreamcast for the online service and was then remastered for the Xbox 360 back when they were trying to bring Street Fighter back because 3 wasn't that well received. And then they came out with 4, and that's when I feel like Street Fighter sort of got its legs back. Look at this this giant, beautiful artwork. Don't see that anymore. Not that much. You see it every once in a while, especially with indie games, but I want to say with the more modern sort of third-party games, it's just all... Like, even today, you think like we would have gotten over our obsession with 3D, but I don't think we've quite gone back to the era of the early 1990s. Okay, see, I thought Hyper Fighting was a different version, but I guess nope. This is just straight up Street Fighter 2, so I'm glad I have this completed box. Move this to the side, and then we get... This is... I wonder if anybody watching this can guess what this game is. This is The Legend of Mana. This is... Or Secret of Mana, excuse me. I'm getting my names wrong. This is Seiken Densetsu 2. Seiken Densetsu 2. This was released in No, if they don't have the copyright dates in here, how am I supposed to remember what this is? This is, you know, when you think about it, this is really the root of games like Kingdom Hearts. From my personal analysis, I will make a direct connection between Kingdom Hearts and the Mana series. For one, because they brought in Yoko Shimomura to do, I'm pretty sure she did the music for 3. I know she definitely did the music for Legend of Mana, the one that was released for the PlayStation. I don't think she had anything to do with, because I think she was working at Capcom at the time this would have come out. But also the fact that it is an action RPG. I know there's plenty of action RPGs out there, but I just get the feeling that Square's experience with the Mana series really informed what they would do for Kingdom Hearts. I've not put a terrible amount of time into this. I have played Secret of Mana 3, I guess you want to say. I have actually the original Mana game that came out for the Game Boy. You might know it as what do I want to? Oh yeah, you could 5 players. Oh my god! If you have played Final Fantasy Adventure, Square relabeled a bunch of their franchises into Final Fantasy games so that they could get sort of more people to buy them. And I bought, actually, technically, you know, from an American perspective, my first Final Fantasy game was actually a Mana game, now that I think about it. This is Super Castlevania 4, released by Konami in 1991. You can see it has a bit of the sticker left over. This is probably at a special price of 7,900 yen. That would be about $70 today, 75 depending on the exchange rate. Today, this is worth used about 50 bucks, a little bit more. It is, if it weren't for Rondo of Blood, I would say this would be the apex of traditional 2D Castlevania games before they went over to Igavania, sort of Metroidvania style searching games. I guess you could call it that. It's a fantastic game. It really blew my mind, especially going for, I decided to play all of the Castlevania games in order, and going from Castlevania 3, which was for the Famicom, going to Super Castlevania. They are completely different games. That fantastic. Like, it's just a sketch. It's just a sketch, and it looks so great. It looks so good. Like, look, whoa! You're just, like, you're thumbing through this, and you're seeing this. I wonder how this compares to the American manual. I remember seeing, it was for Final Fight. I remember comparing the original Final Fight manual with between the American and the Japanese versions, and the American versions of some of these manuals, they're just like white paper with black text. It really does a disservice to a lot of these games. Oh, please don't ban me, YouTube, for that. It's just a Medusa. It's just fine. It's just it's art. So, fair use. Is that what I'm supposed to say? I don't know. Okay, actually, so I have a bunch of other games that I have to show you, but I think I'm going to leave those for another video because we've got boxes and boxes and boxes of games to go through as I continue to catalog my collection of Super Famicom games. If you like this video and you'd like to see exclusive videos about Japanese game collecting, you can head over to my Patreon, that's my YouTube channel. It's patreon.com/jcontra. Hope to see you there. There's polls that you can vote on as well as exclusive content. I have been your man out of Japan, Jay Contra. Thanks for watching and mahalo.